So we're going to talk about the pride flag. Can you give us a little history on the pride flag as to when it was derived? And from my understanding, it was in San Francisco, right?
Right, yeah. So we're talking about the pride rainbow flag. You've seen it. It has 6 colors, the rainbow colors there. It was designed in 1978 by Gilbert Baker from San Francisco.
Nice.
He's a gay rights activist there. He actually just passed away 3 months ago, I think in March. But no, the legacy he left behind with the flag, you know, you see it everywhere. It's an icon that represents sort of the pride, the unity within the LGBT community. So do you want me to talk about the colors though?
Well, go ahead and set up what the controversy's been about.
So we talked about this morning on Morning Blend, in case you didn't see, there's controversy because in Philadelphia specifically, they're trying to add the colors brown and cream,
Brown and black.
Brown and black.
Brown and black.
Brown
No
and
cream
black
involved yet.
to the flag to represent, to say, hey, people of color, we're here too. We want to be included. Add the colors to the flag to bring more conversation or just a little more awareness about it. But it's been a lot of backlash because, again, this is just in Philadelphia. That's not what the original flag intended to be. So Carlos looked a little bit into it, and Carlos let us know what you dug up.
And what each color of the flag does represent.
Yeah, so exactly. So it has some variations there. They've taken 2 colors out, I think, just because fabrics, they weren't available then. So they're like, okay, it went from 8 to 6.
Okay.
But yeah, so red means life. You have orange, which is about healing. Yellow, sunlight. You know, makes sense.
Yeah.
Green for nature. Blue means peace and harmony, and then violet is for spirit. So that was sort of the original intent behind the flag, the original meaning. So it had nothing to do about race. So now the whole controversy is about them trying to inject race into this with the black and brown stripes, saying, you know, it's about people of color, which is an often marginalized sort of community within the LGBT community. So they want this to sort of spark a conversation as far as trying to get more representation.
This flag has already gone up in Philadelphia specifically.
2 weeks ago.
This
yesterday.
happened 2 weeks ago. You had a chance to talk to someone who actually is behind all of this?
So the person who really was the brains behind the change, the reason why this came to light in the first place is because of a woman named Amber Hike, who was just elected as the new director of the Office of LGBT Affairs for Philadelphia. She is a black woman, and she is a very prideful woman. And so part of her mission when she started to get into this position was to bring awareness to the racial issues within the LGBTQ community.
Because they exist.
They exist, and in Philadelphia specifically, she said that part of her platform was to get rid of this gayborhood bias, this gayborhood discrimination, and she's saying that not all LGBTQs are treated equally, and so she wanted to help make it a mission to try to bring the two together to try to resolve the racial discrepancies. So part of the reason why she was really behind the flag is because there are racial issues, not necessarily to say that we should make gay pride about race, but that is actually the case in Philadelphia, in her opinion, is that within the gay community there is a race issue.
Okay, and so do you think that we as a community, we as a society, the gay community has reached a point in the whole movement, you think, that they're ready to add that to the conversation now?
I think that for her, it was about starting the conversation and about recognizing the fact that not everyone who considers the LGBTQ community to be so inclusive, not everyone feels that inclusivity.
Okay,
not
so
everyone
pulling the curtain
feels like
there
that.
are some there are some things that we need to solve within the community, and it starts with diversity.
So we reached out to her. She wrote me back briefly just to give you the transparent answer. She was going to join us, but I haven't yet heard back. So if I do get an interview with her later, though, I'm fascinated to hear what she's seen with this. She's gotten a lot of backlash. She also has a lot of support, though.
She does bring up good points, though, about lack of diversity. You see the Human Rights Campaign, HRC, which is like the leading gay organization at the national level. Just a couple years ago, they did a survey or report that came out that says they do lack representation, diversity at the higher level, or it's like they're trying to do to rectify those issues. They even called them a white men's club. And so if you see things like that, of course, you know, there's not that many people of color who feel that they are being represented or they're at the table.
And specifically in Philly too, because real quick, Megan, before you get started, looking into it in an article, reported in February, 11 gay bars and nightlife venues were recently required to take anti-racism training after complaints were made that the bars were discriminating against non-white patrons, and that is in Philadelphia. So And there was and then we saw a viewer this morning right on our Facebook page that she knew of a hate crime that happened, which kind of is continuing to spark the conversation. So in Philly specifically, it seems like it's going down.
Yeah.
So Amber,
Something needed to be done about it.
But was this the right thing? I guess that's the conversation.
The conversation there. Now, I know there was research done. So Pew Research survey back in, I think it was 2013, 2014, said that when they took a survey of all of LGBTQ people who were part of this survey, 34% identify as non-white within the LGBTQ community. So that's a high number. You know, that's more than 30% of the community that identifies as non-white and may or may not have gone through some sort of discriminatory acts in the past, like Cornelia was mentioning, going into bars and feeling unaccepted, and like Carlos was saying, this male, what did you call it? This white
men's only club.
White
type
men's
of thing.
only club.
And I said Amber Heights wanted to start a conversation. So again, the flag was unveiled 2 weeks ago. She posted on her Facebook page yesterday saying that today, as in yesterday, the mayor of Philadelphia signed into law an ordinance that gave the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations authority to order a business to stop operations if they find that they are engaging in repeated violation of the Fair Practices Ordinance. So as you were saying, those bars that have come under scrutiny for not being fair and racially discriminatory potentially. So now she's gotten the attention of the mayor. They are now talking about legislation to help that community. So she says, this was a challenge, we got a lot of backlash, but I think the bigger conversation for her community was, let's get it started. Putting something as drastic as the stripes on the flag, it created this big movement for them, and she wants that conversation to happen in other cities.
Well, you even see it on social media, on people's dating profiles that you see. Some people go far to even say, oh, no blacks, no Asians, as far as the type of people they're looking for. So if they're saying this, of course it's a problem. You see it everywhere. And if people are, you know, having the audacity to even say that in public, then.
Right. And you would think within the community itself, the LGBTQ community, I look at it as like they're all about inclusivity. I have a large part of my life is consumed by people who are part of that community. And it's always about love, peace, inclusivity. Yes, always, always, always. But you have to think too, let's take a step back outside of the community, how tough it is for a non-white person to even come out. Not that it's not hard for Caucasian people as well, but it is extremely difficult due to culture. And you can help me in explaining this, Carlos, as well. Not that you can, because you have family members too who identify. But within the Latino community, especially, to even the practice of coming out has always been such a big deal. And for people in my family who have made that process in coming out, it's one of those things you don't want to be less machismo. You don't want to be scrutinized by your uncles and your aunts and the people who it's a cultural thing that over the years has become much more accepted, and it's due to this generation of people having to be like, no, grandma and grandpa, it's not something that you can take a pill and just change. And not that every Latino out there feels that way. If you're watching now saying, I've always been inclusive, absolutely, I applaud you for that, but it is a cultural thing.
Definitely different experience too. You mentioned machismo, there's the cultural barrier, there's a language barrier too, in Spanish speaking families. So it's a different type of route, different thing you encounter.
And I think you need to point out too, sexuality and how you identify with yourself, whether you were born as a man, identify as a woman, has nothing to do with the way you were socialized. So you could be attracted to someone of the same sex, but that does not mean that you have bought into the stereotype that a certain group of people are less than you. It's two totally different things.
Right.
It's the way you feel on the inside, but matched with how you believe or how you see people. So you can totally be a part of a community that's all inclusive, but still think certain people are bad or certain people are less than.
And I want to bring in some of your comments. We're getting a wide spectrum. And hey, the rainbow spectrum, right? No pun intended there. But Pam says it's always a race thing, getting sick and tired of it. We are all humans. No lives matter more than others. Also, we see David Wong, who says, before we know it, the LGBT rainbow flag will resemble a 64-count box of Crayola. And then we also see this. Rachel, and my computer just updated, so I'm going to look back for your comment, Rachel, but she was basically saying to leave it alone. Why change it at all? Personal story real quickly. I have gunkles, as I call them. Gay uncles, yep. And in 2008, when California legalized same-sex marriage, We went to the courthouse. We helped them get married in Lake Tahoe. It was beautiful for our family. I recognize those of you out there who disagree with gay marriage. I don't feel that way. I 100% support it. There are people in my life who are so happy and so glad that they can now share health benefits because they are married to the love of their lives, and that was something that they were not allowed to do years ago. I am 100% for gay marriage. I will say, in the back of the room, while my uncles were getting married, there were 2 sheriff's deputies in Tahoe laughing the entire time. And it was in that moment, and I went up to my mom, and I said, I want to go say something to them. It offended me to my core. She said, sweetie, not everyone's going to agree.
Yeah.
People have their opinions. So I respect you for having your opinion, but you have to respect other people as well. And I think the conversations that the African American community are having, you need to respect where they are coming from. You may not feel the same way, you may not want to go there, but they feel a way for a reason. So hearing each other out, having these open dialogues, I think is so critical.
It's a flag that represents their community and their culture, and a lot of people will say, well, we don't have straight month. Why do we have Gay Pride Month?
And
well,
there's not a white stripe on the flag.
And there's not a white
white
stripe
stripe
on the flag, but I will say, and this is something I read on a blog when I was doing research for this story, and it was something along the lines of, and I may have said this before on the show, but because you don't have to have that month. You know, those who are straight aren't necessarily seen in this world as unaccepted, right? So the fact that you don't have to have a month in order to be accepted in the skin you're in, that's your win. That's your victory. For others, there still has to be a month for the LGBTQ community because we're still trying to educate the world on what it even means to be gay. We're still there. We're not having to have a month to say this is what it means to be straight. So really, if for those of us who are straight, it's thank goodness we don't have to have a month to still educate. It's not just about celebrating during this month. It's about educating and raising funds for the community.
Well, and I always like to throw it back on other people. So let's say you don't think the flag should include other colors. Okay, fine. Let's say you don't see the big deal when people seem to always bring up race. Okay, so then what do you recommend? Because it's easy to shoot stuff down. It's easy to say I don't like something. It's easy to tell people to be quiet or let's not talk about it. So what do you recommend to get through the problem? Like that's just throw out some recommendations. Then we'll look into them, see if they work, and then we can adjust. If your recommendations are great, let's adjust the course and then take that route. But
because not talking about it
at all doesn't help.
The process.
And if you don't have a recommendation,
that doesn't help.
And I don't think her intent was to replace the original flag. It was just to add those 2 stripes and maybe create a new one for people of color who don't think they are represented. Hey, I have this new flag, or this flag represents me. So it's multiple flags, and you've seen them out there. Like I said, there was different variations out there. So if some people feel like, oh, this flag represents me, well, good for them. More power to them.
Now, do we think this is going to trickle down into other cities, though?
Like, is
this going to kickstart and this is the new flag?
I bet this weekend in San Francisco you will see that for 100%. Because
I don't see why not for those who are saying, of course, okay, then come on board.
Exactly.
Race, let's be all inclusive.
Yep. And you know what? I am not going to fault you for that. If that's how you feel like you are being included in a movement that you are so proud to be a part of, to each their own, in my opinion. I see all of the complaints, I see all the negative comments that we've gotten on our Facebook page, and I will not say that you are right or wrong in your opinion, but to each their own. If you don't like it, don't do it.
And
there you go.
If there's the white gay community who's saying we want to be represented on that stripe with the white stripe, well then say it and create it, and then do what is the woman's name?
Amber Hikes.
Pull an Amber Hikes. Make a movement, like Cornelia always says. In order to cause change, you got to disrupt something. And then start the movement. We're not saying that the white stripe isn't allowed. It's just that's not what she was focusing on. She's focusing on the black and brown community because those are the ones who she feels, and according to this research, that are getting scrutinized over the years.
And Pamela says we are all God children and we should all be loved and respected the same.
Well said.
I hear ya.